Faith does stumble across a lot of bodies.
Faith Fairchild, a caterer turned sleuth, is the star of 26 Whodunits by Catherine Hall Page.
I write a traditional mystery story in the vein of Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie set the bar as far as I'm concerned.
In 2024, Page received the Mystery Writers Guild of America's highest honor, a Grand Master Award, which Christie received in 1955.
When they called to tell me, I said, "Are you sure?" I was really stunned.
Page lives outside of Boston and sets many of her novels in Massachusetts and Maine. In The Body in the Ivy, a grisly murder takes place at the fictional Pelham College, modeled after Page's alma mater, Wellesley College.
I created Aylford, a suburb of Boston, kind of the size of a Carlisle or a Lincoln, with a lot of Lexington and Burlington. St. Pierre Island I created, which is really Deer Isle off the coast of Maine in Penobscot Bay.
Also featured in the book's clues and investigations, the Lincoln Library, the Lexington Green, even the Patriots' Day reenactment.
I always wondered, well, what would happen in a reenactment if one of the people didn't get up at the end of it?
These murder mysteries also include a bonus, killer recipes. In the kitchen, of course.
These are called comfort cookies, and I came up with this recipe for The Body in the Wake.
Page's fearless heroine, Faith Fairchild, is a caterer, after all.
I start on the recipes way before I've even started the first chapter, because they're really hard, to come up with.
Page created so many recipes, she wrote a cookbook, Have Faith in Your Kitchen. A former high school teacher, she has also penned short stories and young adult fiction over her long career.
The single most important advice I give to anybody who is writing or wants to write is that you really have to write every day. Madeleine L'Engle described writing as taking dictation from your imagination, and it really is like that.
But is Page closing the case on Faith Fairchild for good? The last book in the series, The Body in the Web, came out in 2023.
It's a Chronicle exclusive. I am going to write another book, a 27th book, and it's a joy to be able to have that one character and the cast of characters that kind of stay the same.
What is real in a world consumed by AI and digital data?
I envision a world that's 5 minutes into the future where AI is ubiquitous and takes over all parts of our lives.
A former software engineer and corporate lawyer, author Ken Liu has received the prestigious Hugo and Nebula Awards for science fiction and fantasy. His new techno thriller is All That We See or Seem.
The book is very much about how machine learning can be used to de-anonymize people and expose us in ways that we don't really know how to deal with right now.
The story takes place in Greater Boston. Several scenes were inspired by life in Quincy, including this apartment building where Liu used to live.
I wrote my first novel on the commuter rail, and the commuter rail is a big part of how Julia gets around the city.
Julia is the main character, a hacker with a dark past who is running out of time. She's helping a lawyer find his missing wife, a famous dream artist named Ellie.
Ellie is a dream weaver. She uses AI to help large audiences to dream together.
Julia uses her digital expertise to elude and investigate a crime syndicate, also searching for Ellie.
Every step took so much effort.
Liu's novel shows how AI-driven surveillance and data scraping can be weaponized.
One of the early scenes in the novel involves Julia trying to escape from her building. By scanning the building itself, they're able to comb through social media and compile all kinds of information about people who live in the building.
But AI is not always frightening in All That We See or Seem. It also amplifies Julia's skills and allows people to understand each other better by literally having shared dreams.
One of the things I wanted to explore with this book is the whole concept of the American dream. I think a lot of our uncertainties is because we're sort of fighting over what the American dream actually means and what is the collective American dream and who gets to dream it.
And some of Ken Liu's work has been adapted into film and TV. AMC's Pantheon is actually based on his short stories.
Yeah, he's a busy guy. He also wrote the Star Wars novel, The Legends of Luke Skywalker, and he's translated the works of the most prominent Chinese science fiction writer and really opened that up to a global audience. So I don't know how he finds time to do everything, but he does.
All right.